Welcome back. I've got Craig Alford on the line. Craig, how are you?
Very good. How about yourself?
I am great. Really looking forward to this conversation. So, for those that don't know you, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and the work you do, and then we'll dive into the conversation.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a Canadian-based geologist. I have a professional geoscience designation, which means I'm a qualified person for what we call 43-101 reports. Essentially, it's a similar professional engineering designation. I've been in the business quite a while. I started in the early 80s with Falconbridge Copper. I've worked in a large amount of commodities all over the world, over 30 countries. And I'm excited about the prospects of lithium and have been focused quite a lot on lithium for since about 2015. In my profession, that's pretty new. You know, most people are aware of gold, copper, silver, and of course, oil and gas. But lithium seems to be becoming the new gasoline. So it's a great thing to focus on.
Oh, definitely, especially when you see all of the, or at least most of the major automakers saying we're going to EV and we're going to be there by 2026, which I think is really aggressive on their part. But if you don't set a bold target, you're not going to reach it. So it's definitely something that is a shift. And of course, that's going to dramatically increase the demand. And of course, the need for mining it. It's not like we have, the stockpile of it everywhere. You got to continue to look for it. Much like oil, we're still, looking for oil in many cases, maybe not as crazy as we did in the early days, or the gold rush and all that. There's, in the history of humanity, we're always
Mhm.
looking for these resources that are, within our planet, and exploring areas and figuring out, okay, where is it, how can we get it,
Yeah.
is what's the political landscape of the area that we know has it, and which is obviously, front and center of what's going on in the world today. So, one of the questions I wanted to ask you too is the war between Russia and Ukraine. How is that impacting, the work that you do, and other people that are, looking for those minerals and a variety of different things?
I think the chief aspect of that conflict um, is reflected in sort of uncertainty with oil and gas actually, um, and people have suffered at the pumps over the last little while. I mean, there was the drop in demand during the COVID time. Then post COVID, everyone might be heading back to the office for work, but there's also this conflict, Russian Ukraine war, and how the geopolitics are working out with that has been very odd. New sidelines have sort of been established. So I think there's evidence to show that purchasing of gas powered cars peaked in 2017, has been going down, and quite frankly, I think on the consumer side of things, just watching gas go up and down, I think a lot of people are fed up, and I've started to look at hybrids. I started to look at electric vehicles in a more serious manner over the last couple of years. Sales of electric vehicles jumped 55% from 2021 to 2022, and that is actually pushing, as you mentioned, mining this source of lithium and stuff like that. It's really pushing us to the extremes where mines can't keep up with this kind of idea of demand. If that keeps up, it's going to go well past what mines are producing currently. Mines that are in production can't just double, triple production easily. And mines or resources, I should say, and reserves that have been found can't get into production overnight. It takes a while. It takes a lot of capital. And the capital markets for lithium explorers have been great. I think a lot of the winds are at our back for once. I mean, when you're involved in mining, you typically have a lot of headwinds politically, environmentally, socially. Now that's changing. The US in 2022 signed an agreement with a number of other countries like Canada, Mexico, UK, Germany, etc., for the sort of protection and sort of improving the throughput of critical elements like lithium, cobalt, copper for batteries. I think the truth is they want to kind of level the playing field here, as most of battery production right now is China based or Japan, Korea. And if the EV boom will happen within North America, then we need our own supply of batteries. We can't end up in some stupid trade war that blocks that product, just like the sort of the auto chips that happened over the last 2 years. That's been really deleterious for the automakers. So this is a really great time for investors to look at this sort of new branch of exploration going on, new push towards battery metals. Normally copper wasn't so exciting. Now it's exciting. Nickel wasn't so exciting. Now it's exciting. Lithium, cobalt is a very exciting space to be in.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities on that. And going back real quick on the auto sector for a second, the GM, that I grew up in a GM household, so I tend anytime I hear anything about Generous Motors, that's my internal nickname, and I'm not the first one to ever use that term, but GM, has been quite vocal on their plans. But is the auto sector also investing and helping these mines get the lithium out, or are they kind of taking a step back, saying we're going to buy it when it's ready? Are they getting involved? Because that's something you don't hear in the public too much, is are the automakers actually investing in this technology and this research and the mining and all of that?
It's funny you mentioned GM, but because they directly put $650 million into the Lithium Americas Thacker Pass deposit, which is clay-hosted lithium within Nevada. And that is a wake-up call. I mean, car companies that plan to electrify their fleet, like GM, Ford, you name it, Volvo, it goes on and on, VW, they need actually that direct line to the mines, to the producers, to secure, carve out a piece of production, because they don't want that supply chain disruption. And GM recently announced another investment into a company, Lithium X, which has apparently technology for direct lithium extraction from brines. The three major types of lithium deposits are the pegmatites, the hard rock mines. Then we have the mid-grade, let's call them volcanic sedimentary deposits like Thacker Pass of Lithium Americas. And then you have the brines, which tend to be lower grade, but they have a more simplified manner of production compared to the others. And GM's put money so far into two of those efforts, and I imagine other car companies will follow suit. I read an article about Volkswagen looking for mines to invest in. So, of course, Elon Musk and Tesla have recently announced a number of moves with Piedmont. I think they have a sort of an offtake agreement, and within Tanzania, they mentioned recently they're getting graphite. Sort of the holy trinity here is cobalt, graphite, lithium. However, there are some different mixes to batteries with different elements, but all of these lithium deposits around the world are actually all necessary. I mean, it's if you look at what could be coming in terms of a country like India switching over to electric vehicles, and Europe probably leading the charge really with demand for electric vehicles, it's insane what is going to be needed, what is required, 6-7 times of today's production.
It's going to be really interesting to watch for that, and what players are involved. And again, growing up in an auto household, it's interesting to see a company like GM, really investing that much into something that they don't produce. It's definitely a shift in how they approach business, but they obviously recognize the situation at hand, and the more that they can kind of get their allocation that they need for their lines, suits them very well as far as
Yeah.
being able to keep up with the demand and the production of it. And yeah, I've seen it, where I live, the number of EVs that are driving around, I've just noticed it myself, is dramatically increased because, again, gas prices are, what they are, and they've kind of gone up and gone down a little bit. Now they're back up again, with OPEC cutting production. And then, of course, the situation that's going on with Russia and now potentially China, going back to what you said before,
Yeah.
it's important to recognize that the supply chain, not just of lithium, but other things in the world. If it's in like the chips that we saw during the pandemic, it's a single point of failure for
Yeah.
all of us,
Right.
and we realized how much we needed chips because
Mhm.
everything,
Yes, exactly.
not just start. We're thinking, oh, my computer, that's all right. No, your phone, your fridge,
Yeah.
your television, you name it. There's chips in everything,
Everywhere. Yeah, I know.
and
And
maybe.
actually, and lithium ion batteries everywhere. I mean, portable devices, your laptop, your phone.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I was just saying, like, thinking to myself, this it's just an entirety of the supply chain, and there's just some points of failure, and those have to be addressed. And thankfully, I mean, there's a lot of government backing. Not only the automakers are investing into the lithium producers, but the U.S. government has gone above and beyond. I think it's almost like a wartime measure act, really. What's going on? They've made billions of dollars available for potential lithium mines to get into production. Here in Canada, the Minister of Mines has, publicly stated we're going to greenlight these things, and it's just that point of failure cannot exist. Is we must have our own supply, and production has to get up and going.
Yeah, and you said it's not something that happens overnight. It takes time, and just trying to find, explore and all of that takes time. And then, okay, we found it, great. All right, well, it's not like you grab the shovel and start digging and you start pulling it out of the ground. It's not that simple. It's like
Yeah.
this
You-
isn't this
th-
is this isn't the gold rush where you just
I
start,
know.
digging,
Yeah,
digging.
that's right. This, most people don't understand, from discovery, resource building, reserve building to production. That's often a decade. And we can't afford that decade this time around because, I think it's really interesting you said that you see EV vehicles now, right? They're popping up on the road. It really reminds me of the days where cell phones started. Like, I saw a guy in a bar on a cell phone, one or two. I'm old enough to remember this. And suddenly they went from being rare to common to now you have like three at home. 12-year-olds have their own cell phone. And I think electric vehicles are going to be a similar thing where they're popping up here, there in people's neighborhoods. And suddenly they're going to be everywhere. And that's really the critical juncture of everything that's going to happen, where this industry has to really stand on its feet, has to get going, needs some government help. Obviously, the automakers see it. What's a really interesting point will be when we see the Exxons and Shells of the world say, hey, let's invest in lithium. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I was on the board of those companies, I'd say, well, over the next decade, we're going to see a serious decline in the usage of our product. So why not take the money we've got now, which is a lot, and put it into the next gasoline? So that'll be an
Yeah,
interesting time.
yeah, I definitely see and hope for them. Not, I don't wish ill will on any industry or any
Mhm.
player and all of that, but your big oil producing organizations, one, in the short term, start getting more charging stations at their state, at their gas stations. In many cases, depending on the community, you see, and we've seen this over the years, where some of the larger gas stations have much bigger footprint in it, not so much for the pumps, but the actual inside of the store, because they're selling all kinds of different things. But the next stage on that would be, and I've seen this done in limited spaces, but I would
Yeah.
anticipate they'll start seeing it more and more. We're going to have little cafes where people can sit around and wait while their car is charging. and have plenty of charging stations, make it a destination. Who knows? Whoever wants to be creative and come up with some ideas on this, you're going to do well with it. But yeah,
Yeah.
the Exxons and the Mobils of the world, they need to take some of the money that they have, and you said it,
Yep.
they have it, and
Yep.
start. We got to get a skin in the game. Otherwise, they're going to be the Blockbuster versus Netflix, and
Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
Blockbuster. We remember Friday nights at Blockbuster. That was the best. For people that
Yeah.
don't remember that, Friday night was it at
Yeah.
Blockbuster. You're going there, you're getting the latest movie, you're buying the popcorn, you're getting, the candy and all that kind of good stuff. And it was a thing to do. And it then poof, gone because something else came along, mail order DVDs, and then the streaming thing came along, and it's amazing. And you've seen this, I've seen it too, on how quickly things can change. Because I remember a
Mhm.
time before Blockbuster, and now I remember a time after it. It's
Yeah.
just like poof, here, huge, gone. And even, over 50% of the Fortune 500 companies since the year 2000 were either acquired or no longer in business. Half of them.
Wow.
That's 500 of the most worthy, richest companies on the planet. Half of them are gone in 2 decades. That's how
Mhm.
quickly things can change. And I think with the mining and all that, how you say can take up to a decade with technology and innovation, and both private and public sector heavily invested in it. Hopefully we'll be able to shrink that time a little bit, because I'm with you. We can't be dependent on a singular source for things when
Right.
everybody wants it. So if we've got those resources under our foot, in Canada and the United States and other parts of the
Precisely.
world, we got to go after it, and
Yeah.
because the people want it.
Exactly. And as I said, if you're an oil company, and the writing's on the wall when
Mhm,
you hear Ford, GM, et cetera, say, "Oh, we're going to electrify 30-40% of our fleet."
mhm.
And then governments, like Norway, saying, "Oh, we're going to completely phase out the ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles." So you can't sit still, otherwise you're going to be the blockbuster, wondering where all your customers went. So
Abso- Absolutely. So, last question for you, and I've loved this conversation. So, what milestones do you think your organization's going to see over this next year? I mean, there's obviously all kinds of volatility in the world and all that, but where's your company going over the next year or so?
okay, so just to remind people, we're talking about Fe battery metals on the OTC markets. It's FEMFF, and on the Canadian markets, it's Fe on the CSE exchange. We're working towards uplisting in Canada for getting on a larger exchange. We've got a portfolio of excellent projects. Most are targeted to be close to other deposits. Both in Ontario and Quebec is mainly our area of target. We have a flagship project called Augustus, which sits beside the newest lithium mine to open in North America, which is the North American Lithium Mine, and it's run by Piedmont. They're a US-based company, and Sayona is the majority holder of their Australian-based company. They just started producing lithium concentrate in March, so it's that young. It's just up and going. We've had a lot of recent successes with drilling there. If people were to look back at a lot of our press releases, the drilling was kind of scattered because we were attempting to find out and bring forward into the present a lot of the previous historical work that was done there, which in the rules of 43101 reporting you can't talk about because it's pre 43101. So you have to re-drill, re-assay, and bring forward. So we're just now returning to highlights where we hit before. So, you hit a good intersection. Now it's time to just be more methodical and drill beside it and find where this goes, because we've got basically a pegmatite swarm in the area, which by the way is what the North American Lithium Mine as well has as well. So it's we are just literally trying to understand it, because it is confusing when you hit a zone here, a zone there, a zone there. We need a three-dimensional model, which we're working on to put it all together. I'm hoping investors will be excited about the company, because quite frankly, we've flown under the radar. And it's talks like this that will hopefully raise some awareness. A lot of companies, a lot of juniors have moved into the lithium space, and their market caps have exploded on, quite frankly, picking up deer and moose pasture all over the place. But it's just that the space is that exciting. But our company, we're still, I believe, undervalued. I think that we've really got something with Augustus, and our other projects are right next to the Rose Lithium project up in the James Bay region, where a lot of exciting finds have been uncovered in the last 2 years. So we have a very exciting portfolio, and we have a program moving forward to hit all of our targets and move into a resource category for the flagship project.
Exciting times for your organization and the industry as a whole. So,
Yeah.
Craig, so much. Thank you so much for your time today, and
All right.
really and educating everybody. Where can people find out more about you and all this amazing work you're doing?
Sure. They can go to the website, FE Battery Metals. I'm a director of that company. I often am sort of the face, because of my geologic experience, to speak for them. But the results speak for themselves, and I hope they check us out.
And I'll definitely have that information in the show notes. So, Craig, thank you again for this and for the education for all of us on the challenges that are going on and the exciting times ahead. So, really appreciate your time today.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much.